Shannon, and this is Scott, and this is our daughter, Serena.
Hello.
And this is Living Our Best Defective Life. And as you know, we're sitting in a little bit more casual setting today to help make our wonderful daughter, our favorite daughter.
Only daughter.
Well, that's why it's easy to have you as our favorite. Feel a little bit more comfortable, and Scott has his feet up, and he's very casual today.
I didn't even do my hair. No hair and makeup today as it's the weekend.
So this one's a little bit later getting out, but our daughter's home for the summer, and we thought we'd bring her on as a guest to kind of share some of her point of view from growing up. And of course, we have the visit from the cat. So yeah.
All right. So I think the first 13 episodes, we planned between 10 and 15 episodes that were going to be just broad generalization, just background, who we are, where we came from, sort of, and our family history of marriage between Shannon and I. Did that sound weird?
I think it sounded fine.
All right. Anyway, so we're going to start stepping off into some of those subjects, but deeper. So one of the things that I really wanted to touch on was how my disability affected our children. And to get a contrast to that, I think we'll start with your younger years when I was around less because I was working and I'm working away from home frequently and doing things like that. So,
and for your reference, Serena, she's our only daughter, but she's also our middle child there in the lineup.
Middle childs, raise your hands.
I'm the oldest.
And I rub that in my face every time.
Yes. So.
Just so everybody knows, there are more middle children on the planet than oldests and youngest. Just so you know.
Okay.
Anywho.
Talking about her younger years.
Right. Where do we want to start? Do you want to start at the beginning?
I was born.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to go with, there was a big bang!
I guess that was an option too, but I feel like I feel like you were insinuating starting at the beginning of my life and not the beginning.
Oh, okay.
There is a difference.
So, not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot because that's the whole point of this.
Right.
Is what are some things that you remember from your growing up? Places that we lived or things that we did that you remember and either were good memories, bad memories, or just things that strike you and you don't even know why.
Or maybe start with your first good memory, or a good memory that you have.
The one where your brother beat her up and broke her lip?
Do you remember that one?
Not really, but I remember the story kind of.
Okay, well let's start with something that you remember.
Something that I remember. Okay.
I know. We put you on the spot. Good, bad, ugly, or otherwise.
I guess one thing I remember, Dad was driving truck at the time. I was somewhere between 3rd and 5th grade.
So we were living out in the country.
Yeah. And I remember, he and I, over the phone, started keeping a, location journal. So, every night, I'd write where he was that night.
Was that helpful to know where he was?
Yes.
So you don't really remember the early on before we moved up north when we lived?
No.
And we had the big map on the wall and we would trace and keep track that way. Okay.
Nope.
You were pretty little because you turned 3 when we moved
up here.
Up here, yes.
And really, I remember you and Bjorn setting up a Christmas tree one year.
Okay.
In the old Hibbing house.
Okay. Might have to edit that out. We're not saying where we live.
Sorry.
It's on our page.
It is on our page. That's true. Okay. Up in Hibbing. So the first when we first moved into
Yeah.
when we first moved up here and you were 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kept a journal of where he was. Did that help you kind of keep and feel close to him while he was away from home?
Yeah, definitely. That and, having one of his shirts to sleep in.
Yeah.
It's now full of holes, but still have it.
So you struggled with Dad being gone. You missed him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I remember is when Dad came home and he had bought you kids all those hats. He bought hats. He bought you a cat hat because we have, as you can see, we have cats. And of course it was a black cat hat. And he bought, Brock had
the zebra.
a zebra.
Because it saved his life.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. And what did
Bjorn had a raccoon.
That's right, he had the raccoon. And you would not take the cat hat off. You wore it you would wear it inside. You wore it all the time. Though I think you took it off when we went to school because you couldn't wear hats in school, but
I'd wear it to school.
Mm-hmm. It was Serena's cat hat. Mm-hmm. And you had that. And that was something, those things helped you feel close. How was it? So that was when he was away. How do you, early on when he'd come home and the times that he was home, what do you remember most, whether it's good or bad? Or
I think most of what I remember were the good days.
Okay. And what do you mean by good days?
So really before it started to progress quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, honestly, I just remember being happy he was home.
Okay. And some of the things that we did, even, what do you remember about when he come home? And because when he come home, there was things that needed to be done that could only get done when he was home. And going and doing those things. And not throwing your brothers too much under the bus at this point about their work ethic at that point in time. But, when you had, how did you view going out, and getting the wood that we'd have to do, or going and doing the different things that we needed to do?
I didn't mind going and, getting wood or anything. I remember one of the first times we went out to get wood, we were, hauling the trees and just, throwing them over my shoulder and getting them out of the woods.
So for reference, our neighbor had some not quite straight line winds, but some pretty strong winds come through and blow down a bunch of their trees that were very close to their house, and it looked awful. And they knew that we burned wood and they didn't, but they wanted it cleaned up. So we went over and we started cleaning it up. And what I had the kids doing was bringing about 4-foot long pieces out of the woods. And the boys were picking up, and I kid you not, they were the size of my finger around and 3 feet long. And they were dragging them on the ground.
Now, for reference to at this time, because that was shortly after we moved out there.
Yeah,
Bjorn
I would
was
have been
maybe
around 6.
So, yes, Bjorn, well, we said his name. Okay, our oldest Bjorn, he was 8. Serena here was 6, and Brock would have been about 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4
But
and
they
a half.
were plenty strong and plenty capable and well fed. So it wasn't like they were really weak. They were just being dramatic.
And yeah, so Serena was carrying ones that were twice as tall as she was.
Yeah, 4 feet long and, a good 4 to 6 inches around. Pretty straight. And she just chuck them over her shoulder and walk them out.
And I'd have to duck because she'd turn around.
Right.
There was a couple times almost hitting me.
And the boys saw that, and then they were very upset with themselves for pretending that the twigs were
Not so
wood.
upset they stopped.
No. They just couldn't believe they got beat by a girl.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yes. So you remember doing that, and you had fun.
Yeah, I still loved being outside and doing stuff outside.
Until she really found the love for books, and then it was hard to get her outside.
I would still go outside. You had to tell me I could bring the book with me.
Yes. How, when Dad's disease, and what do you remember when you first started noticing that your dad was not the super dad?
That's a good. When did you notice something was not right?
Yes, when?
That's a really good question.
Well, thank you.
Because I'm not sure. Because I know it started out as like little things, and it was just.
So, what are some of the things you remember? Examples.
I don't have examples.
Those little things. What was, or something?
Well, just talk about it.
Or some of the things.
I don't know. I don't. But I guess it would be after the tick bite would be when I really started.
Okay, so the tick bite. We've told that story.
Yep.
How, from your point of view, because I went to work the morning before what do you remember about that morning? Bits and pieces. I know it's going to be bits and pieces because you were still probably.
I was 8. It was just after my 2nd grade year. Yeah, I think I remember Dad wasn't feeling well. I think I answered the phone when you called.
I do believe so.
Yeah, and I remember like you asking to talk to Dad on the phone and being like, yeah, I'll hold it up to his ear for him. And I think I vaguely registered that you were like, what? But
Yeah.
I was just an 8-year-old, you know, that doesn't, and like, yeah, you know, we've been helping Dad out a lot today. We'd hold his cup for him so he could drink, made sure he's been getting lots of fluids.
And taking care of him.
Yeah.
Did you view that as just, oh yeah, Dad's sick, we're taking care of him like how I would take care of you when you were sick?
Yeah.
And not thinking anything really strange about it?
No.
When did you realize that something wasn't right? That it wasn't just him, that he just wasn't sick with the normal thing?
Honestly, when you came home.
Okay.
And we're like, let's get Dad ready to go out to the car.
When I said, okay. So when you realized we had to take him to the doctor because something wasn't, okay. How did that time go for you? Because I know there was a lot going on. We had friends from the church that came and picked you guys up and took you for McDonald's, which you guys thought was really cool.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I was really worried at all. Which, knowing me now, is like, that's weird. You not worried?
I know, you get that from me.
But, I don't know. I think I wasn't worried about Dad dying. And in the meantime, I got to hang out with friends and cousins.
Okay, so I gave you information. I shouldn't say we, because you were out of it. You don't remember much about that. You were busy with the llamas.
I was
in
the hospital for a week. I remember the day I got checked out. That's it.
I gave you information. Do you feel, looking back at that and what you know, that we gave you enough information for you? Did we not give you enough? Or to help keep you with what you know now about, because you know more details about how it went and different things.
Well, like, even knowing that Dad's doctor thought that he'd be dead on Monday when she came back.
That came out later, yeah.
I think I had enough information at the time. But again, I wasn't worried.
Do you know how not worried you were?
I don't remember telling Mom, but
You reassured your mom.
yeah.
She did. I don't know if we shared that in the other.
You did.
We did.
Okay. Because you did. I remember you sitting there and you took my hand just like this before you went with Mama and Grandpa. You said, Mom, God told me Dad's going to be okay. So this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you had just that sense.
I just knew. I don't remember being worried that time that Dad was in the hospital.
And Dad's been in the hospital a lot. We've shared that. And even just day surgeries for different things and coming. And I don't know,
Don't get too far off subject.
no, but through all of that with him, and he'd come home. So you said after he had the tick bite, and you started realizing that he wasn't super dad. Was part of that because he was so weak when he came home? Or did you then realize, okay, this is not a normal... When did you realize that Dad was not like the normal dad and did normal dad things after?
That was because for a lot of that time, Dad was driving truck over the road, and so he wasn't home a lot. So I think when I really started to, I guess, feel jealous of other kids because they could go and wrestle with their dad, was around like 6th, 7th grade. And I think
I almost handed you a cat.
it would have been the same thing. Mom just might have started sneezing. But I think that was when the severity of ear disease started to like really hit me. Yeah.
Okay, around 6th grade.
Yeah.
Is there a specific event that made you realize that? A specific
I
thing?
think it was just Dad being home more.
Okay. Now, there were times that Dad, the frustrations of not being able to do what he wanted to do and get the things done because his hands weren't working or whatever, the frustration would come out and he'd be upset and angry and different things. How did you deal with that? How did you see that? Or
for me, I just tried to do what I could around the house to prevent outbursts.
okay, because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You do whatever you can do. You would do that with your younger brothers when I'd ask them to do stuff with your younger brother.
Only one.
Your
The other
younger
one's
brother
older.
and with your older brother. But you
would.
would do that with your brothers, mainly with your younger brother when he was little, and we'd ask him to do something and you don't want to because he is the youngest and we love him very much. But you would I'll just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just do it. And I know there was one time I looked at you and said, you're creating a monster. Because if you keep doing this, he's going to always expect you to do it. You need to let him get into trouble.